and welcome to another episode of Tommy's Trains. As you can see, I've got a giant box in front of me, and I think this is probably one of the cooler accessories to get, and it's going to take up some real estate. So I believe probably in order for this to work on a layout, you had to have some kind of a engine, locomotive servicing, coal facility, or mining or something, or have another giant layout where you can add all this stuff in, because it's not going to fit on a regular 4x8 layout comfortably. So there's a couple of different things going on here, and I'm going to show you those. I've got this extra part over here that I'm really hoping works, and so stick around. We're going to show you the 456R operating coal ramp, the operating hopper car, and I've also got the older version of the coal loader here, and this one's all metal. This is a number 397 coal loader made in US of America, the Lionel Corporation, New York, New York. And you can tell the older one because it says GM diesel. The newer one says like Lionel diesel or something. But this is plastic, and we've got a new conveyor on here. You got the shield, but the base is all metal. You got a rubber feet on it, and I'm hoping we can make this all work. So stick around and let's have some fun with coal. So we'll go ahead and get this open. So here we've got the 456R coal ramp, back a 3456 hopper. This is a 5264, but it should still work. Up to the 465R's aluminum ramp, and couple it in place. With a touch of a button, an electromagnet under the car opens the bay doors and coal escapes into a receiving bin. When your car is empty, hit another button. The electrocoupler releases the hopper down the ramp to be picked up by the waiting train. For more fun with your 456R, combine it with the 397 operating coal loader, which is here. And when you set the 397 next to the 456R, the coal is transferred into the 397's receiving bin. It's ready to fill another car with its operating conveyor. So you can create a whole coal transfer system with 3 pieces. This features a die-cast bottom ramp frame, extruded aluminum ramp, stamped metal base and handrail stanchions, nickel-plated brass handrails, nickel-plated steel post for using dumping bin with the coal loader, 2 electromagnets, an exterior light that will illuminate when the hopper is coupled, a bag of coal, and it says it works with all versions of the 3456 operating hopper. This is a New Mexico division car, O gauge. I'm hoping it works. So this comes with a bag of coal also, but Durango and Silverton operating hopper, and we've got die-cast trucks. They're metal sprung. We've got the dump right here. It's a really heavy car, and it is quality construction by the feel of it. So we'll hook this onto the train and we'll get this stuff hooked up. And obviously we can't make a whole layout here because there's not enough room, but we're going to do the best we can so that I can show you this in operation. So this is the first time this box has been opened. Here's our instructions with a bag of coal. Here's the dump bin, the controller and wiring, and here's the ramp itself. So I'm going to make some modifications to this train track real quick, and then I'll be back. Alright, so now that I've got this all rigged up, and it's not difficult, it's just really important that you get your wires stripped back good, you have good connections, and I recommend this on every single video that I make with regard to wiring. Get yourself some crimp terminals or some heat shrink, some good solder, whatever you need to do to make a good connection. Just stripping the wires back and sticking it in and curling it around the screw. It's really opening yourself up to potential disappointments. So I don't recommend that you do that. So the train, the way this is going to work is I'll get a bag of coal here. And a big bag of coal. Open this up. We'll dump it in the car. So I think for ideal operation, you probably want a couple of these operating cars, but you can do it with one. Or you can get the non-operating ones and then just flip them upside down or dump it in a gondola, whatever. So you're probably gonna need about 3 cars between your locomotive, at least, because there's no track power on this ramp. So you're gonna need some sort of buffer. So you're gonna need some cars in the middle, maybe some more hoppers or whatever. You're gonna back your train up, and that's gonna push the car up to here. And so you've got to get the track power on. So
okay, let's get out of this way and start doing work here.
So this works best when you have the electrocoupler open. So you just push the open or the release, and you have to have track power on, obviously. Do the release, it opens the electrocoupler here, and then you push your car up the ramp with your load, and the electrocoupler will connect, and then when it's connected, the light will come on. At that point, you can make sure that your dump bin is properly installed. Here's the conveyor, and those 2 metal posts are to hold the dump bin up high enough to transfer the coal from the dump bin into the conveyor bin. There's also a sluice here, so you can close that sluice to keep the coal up here, and then open it to let it sift down through. So when your red light is on, you know you're ready for operation. Then you can hit the unload. Just hold the height. You might need to. Nothing's perfect, but it is dumping, and it's filling up into the sluice here. It's also falling down in there. So then maybe there's some finer coal. This coal's pretty coarse, so you just have to kind of. I can see the hoppers kind of filling up there. So just for grins, I'm going to grab another car and put it over there so we can transfer. I think that's what we need to do for this to work correctly. So I think the way to make this work, the best is I've got a coal dump car here, and the coal dump car did come with some finer grained coal. This coal is really coarse, so it does go through, but you might need to pretend you got a guy up here shoveling just to kind of feed it through, and then it comes into this hopper down here, and we should go transfer it there. Train car over there, so let's see if the conveyor will work. So that works pretty well. I'll bring you over here and I'll show you the wiring, I'll show you the operation, I'll slow it down. So I think probably for this to work, ideally you're going to need the finer coal instead of the coarse stuff that it came with, which, you know, it's fine in the dump car, but the finer stuff seems to work better. And you're probably going to want some kind of paper under this to pick up all the mess, because no matter what you do, it does feel like it does bounce around a little bit. So I'll bring you over, I'll show you how this is wired up, and then we'll call it a day. Here's our instructions for this, and it does tell you that you want to have some extra cars in the middle because obviously there's no center rail, so you're not going to be able to push a locomotive up here, which is probably more realistic anyway. I do believe the pictures I've seen showed some pusher cars in the middle. So here's your controller there, and there's a bunch of wires that come out, And I'd have to flip this back upside down to show you because they're down at the base. And that's where going ahead and stripping everything out really well and connecting it comes into play, because you need to make sure you have good connection. Again, it shows you where each conductor color goes to which connector. So for example, the white goes to A and it's all clearly labeled underneath, and it looks like that. And then I just run it back here to the lock on, which, you know, if you had this a ways away, you could always run a lock on over here or have a separate power or whatnot. Here's some scenarios of how you would set the track up if you were going to use the coal loader with the coal ramp, for example, there, and also here. So you could fit it onto a 4x8, but that's going to be your primary business by the looks of it. Now the coal loader is a little easier. There's two posts back there. You're going to run one of them through the switch, and this is not a momentary switch. This is a switch like your cattle car. So it's going to have an official on and off. And this one conductor goes all the way through back here to your connector. The other conductor goes through the switch. So very simple. Now we'll use everything in conjunction. We'll start out by bringing the train around. So then we're going to do unload. What I believe you want to do is get this situated, and then you want to get your train out of there. This is if you're using track power. If you're not using track power, it probably isn't a problem. But if you are using track power, you want to get the locomotive out of there, because it seems like there's a momentary lapse or an interruption of the power, which confuses the locomotive and makes it think it's changing gears from neutral to forward or backward. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't have your locomotive hooked up there. So we can just pretend we got a guy up here shoveling in the car to unload into the hopper. Now the hopper has a sluice here that's open, so that's going to fall into the feed for the conveyor. So once we've got this open, go ahead and close the car. And with the car open, you just hit, so you've got to uncouple here if you wanted to get rid of the cars. This is an electrocoupler here, which will unhook. Then you've got the electrocoupler here, which will remove the car from the hopper, take it out. And so the only drawback I've seen so far is you might get a piece of coal jammed in the doors, and so that could be a problem. But for the most part, it seems to work okay. With the car disconnected from here, the light will go out telling you that you're okay to safe operation again. I'm going to turn the switch on for the conveyor. You get the picture. So that's a pretty cool accessory or two. So one thing I do remember from when the kids initially got the coal dump car is no matter how you drove the train, occasionally you would derail it or you would tip the car over or something, then you'd have a mess. So what I might probably recommend is use, pretend coal, run all the electronics, have all the conveyors and the dumping and everything, and just pretend there's coal in there. Then you won't have a mess, and it's just as good. I do believe there was a version of this that didn't have a wire railing, it had a cable. So there's the electromagnet that dumps. And then you've got a electromagnet here to uncouple, and then you've got the electrocoupler here. One thing too, this is the 40-watt controller, and it doesn't really put out enough amperage to run your ramp very well. So I think I would probably tell you to use the CW80 or something around that amperage, something a little bit more hefty than this. So I appreciate you watching another episode of Tommy's Trains. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll talk to you next time.